Hi guys, how are you today? Today's class is about the present perfect, the one of a kind. Okay, so this is for intermediate 2. So first of all, we have to understand that present perfect is something completely different from what you saw in Portuguese. Okay. Sometimes we cannot translate this grammar, so it's important to understand everything in English and use it in English, okay? So, to start with, let's see how we form the present perfect. We need the subject for affirmative sentences, okay, plus have or has, that you're going to be saying, how to use both of them, and also the verb in the third column. So guys, in this moment, it's really important for you to get acquainted with the third column that is called the past participle. So from now on, I need you all to have an irregular list of verbs so that we can see all the verbs properly, okay? Just to refresh your minds, in English we have two different kinds of verbs. We have the regular verbs and irregular verbs. The regular verbs, both the simple past and also the past participle, and in ed, whereas the third column and the second column of the irregular verbs may vary according to the verb you selected to be used. Okay, so firstly, we're gonna be dealing with some specific verbs so that you can get more used to them, okay? Let's see how we form. So, for affirmative sentences, I said I have the subject, I, you, we, they. For these ones, we have to use have, all right? So, I have worked, you have worked, we have worked, they have worked, all right? Then we have an irregular verb that is written. I have written, you have written, we have written, they have written, okay? So for the third person, that is he, she, and it, we need to use has instead of have, all right? So here follows, he has worked, she has worked, it has worked, all right? And also we have an irregular verb. He has written, she has written, it has written. Guys, as we know for interrogative sentence, we also have to invert the auxiliary verb, in this case, have, and the subject. Then we have I, you, we, they worked. Have I, you, we, they written. All right? And also for he, she, it, we have to invert the word has, that is now the auxiliary verb for these ones, okay? So, has he, she, it worked? Has he, she, it written? Okay? For the negative sentences, we just have to place the word not after have or has, or we also have the contracted form, that is haven't or hasn't. Let's see the examples. I, you, we, they haven't worked. I, you, we, they haven't written. All right? He, she, it hasn't worked. He, she, it hasn't written. Okay? So this is how you have to form the present perfect. Now we're going to be focusing on how to apply, okay? As I said, present perfect is a one-of-a-kind opportunity for you to be more fluent, because you're very likely to see Americans or British people using this kind of grammar, okay? Let's see how we will apply them. 1. For an action that happened in the past, but whose results are obvious in the present. What does that mean? When something in the past impacted somehow our present or had a result in our present. For example, I have here, John's car is dirty. He washes the car. He has washed the car. So from this example, we can see that he had like a dirty car, but by after washing the car, okay, he has a new one. So he has washed the car. So his car is different at the moment. The same can be applied, for example, if I say, I have had a car accident. It means my car was okay, but after crashing my car, it's not okay anymore. So I have had a car accident. You see that a situation in the past impacts or changes my present situation. Okay? Another example is I was in a relationship and then I broke up with the person I was. So to express this, we know that my present is changed. Yeah? So we have to say, I have broken up with my girlfriend. Example. Okay? So why do I have to use the present perfect? Because an action in the past affected somehow my present. All right? So this is the first is. Let's move on. Second one, guys, it is really important to understand the use of the expression just. Okay? You all know that just can mean sometime only, all right? They're synonyms, but also it means something that happened recently, okay? So for example, I can say, I have just arrived at school. It means that arrived at school recently, okay? So situations that happened recently, all right? Example here, Mark is having lunch, all right? This is a situation of the moment. And then some minutes later, he finished. So to express that this action happened recently, I can use the time expression just. He has just had lunch. Okay? So another example, for example, our class starts at 2 o'clock and now it's 2:10. So we can say that our class started recently, right? So I can say our class has just started. 3, and this is really important, for an action that started in the past and hasn't finished. What does that mean? Guys, this is the most, let's say, awkward and different one, right? Because we do not have a specific translation for this, but it's important to be mentioned. Why? When something happened in the past and you still continue doing it, we ought to use the present perfect. Let's say some situations here. You see the house for sale, then it's written sold. 2000, okay? And now it's 2015. This couple here has probably bought this house 15 years ago, okay? And they are still living at the same house. So we can draw the conclusion that they have lived in this house for 15 years, okay? Another situation, I started working here at CCE when I was 16, okay? Now I am in my 20s or something, right? So I can say that I have worked at CCE for more than 10 years. If this situation was not true anymore, like if I hadn't been working here anymore, I wouldn't be able to use the present perfect. For example, before I worked at CCA, I was an employee at TAN Airlines, for example. But today I don't work there anymore. So I can say that I worked at TAN, but I don't work there anymore. So you see the difference? When I use a situation that was ended at a specific time in the past, I have to use a simple past. But if this situation is still ongoing, I have to use the present perfect. I will defer simple past and present perfect in a future class that is also going to be on our channel, right? Hashtag Fale Mais. So let's focus here on these examples. We bought the house in 2000. We still live in the neighborhood. So the conclusion is we have lived here for 15 years. We have lived here since 2000. My students always ask me the difference between for and since. Let's see the word for as the duration, for 10 years, for 5 days, for 5 hours. So I want to know the duration of an action or situation, okay? So as I said, I have worked here for more than 10 years. This class has been going on for 1 hour. So you see the duration, all right? Whereas since is used when I want to know when the situation or action is started specifically. For example, I have worked here since 2000, okay? My mother has lived at her present house since she was born. You see, since she was born, when the situation started, okay? Another example, my father has had his recent car for 3 years, or my father has had his recent car since 2017, for instance, okay? So let's move on. Number 4, for experiences we have or we haven't lived. What does that mean? I usually call it as experience of life. For example, if I say I'm going to São Miguel Paulista, this is not something unusual. We do this like as a rule of thumb. But if I say that I'm going to Miami, this is something different. This is an experience of life, right? So for situations that are sort of unusual or unlike our routine, we have to use the present perfect. And then we have the time expressions ever and ever. I'll be also mentioning the time expression already that we use mainly for affirmative sentences, okay? Let's understand it. I have an example here. He has flown a plane, but he has never tried bungee jumping. You see, to fly a plane, this is something unusual. And to try bungee jumping is also something unusual. So for these situations, we can consider them as experience of life, right? So the best grammar to be used in this case is the present perfect. As we have the other example, have you ever traveled by plane? Okay, it is important to know that ever in this case means at any time. So, have you at any time in your life eaten Mongolian food? Okay, so at any time, ever. So I can ask, have you ever played tennis? Have you ever been in another country? Have you ever seen a famous person? Have you ever had a touch with an alien? Okay, so these are all unusual situations. So for these ones, you have to use the present perfect. Okay, let's move on. Guys, this one is what we're going to be focusing more on our next class. In our next class. So I will just read and give some examples, but I will not go deep into this topic now because we're going to be seeing this later on. Okay, so number 5, for an action that happened in a non-specific time, unspecified time, what does that mean? Okay, so when the time is not known, we have to use the present perfect. This is something like unique. What do I mean? So for example, I can say, I have studied. If I do not mention the time, when did you study? You have to use the present perfect, because in this case, the time is not important. The action is more important than the time, okay? But if I say, I studied yesterday, we can see clearly that the time matters in this case, right? So I studied when? Yesterday. So when you do not mention the time when you did the action, you have to use the present perfect. As we have the example here, the children have tied their room. When? We don't know that. So present perfect. And I've got like some more examples, even though we're going to be studying this deep later on, okay? Present perfect tense, we use it when the action in the past is not indefinite. Is indefinite. We don't know the time, right? For example, here, we have studied at CCE. When? No time. We don't know. I have gone to Brazil. When? We don't know. Okay? So guys, that was today's class. Basically, you saw like the 5 ways of using present perfect, but we're going to give you like some more details over this topic that is really important for speakers of a second language, okay? So try to attend today's class, okay? We're going to have some exercises over this so that you can get some more information and use the language properly. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe on our channel, #FaleMais. Yeah, like it, and you can make some suggestions and other stuff, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.